was just being tested with a small thing so that he could get a sample of what was coming his way. But I must digress for a moment and tell you that until you have reached completely your the full manifestation of God's promise, and until you have reached your full destiny in God, you must be prayerful at all times. And if you don't believe me, just look at Joseph, because the Bible said in the 7th verse of the 39th chapter that Potiphar had a wife whose eyes were fixed on Joseph so that she could bind him in a hellish position. And if I may, I must tell you, people of God, that while I was studying for this particular message, God began to speak to me very clearly about this matter. And he told me that what this woman held in her was a demonic spirit which patterned after the characteristics of a leech. Now, when we think about the image and characteristic of a leech, we automatically picture in our minds a grotesque looking creature. But notice, if you will, that if this was a spirit, then that would mean you couldn't see it. And the enemy knows that he can't dress something ugly in something that's ugly already, because then his purpose will become non-effective. So what the enemy does is he uses attractive people to connect with God's anointed. And the devil knows that when this spirit attaches to you, then it will drain you out of everything that God has already in you. God. And I'm quite sad to say, people of God, that we are living in a time where too many people have the spirit of a leech inside them, but from the naked eye they don't look like it at all, because they appear to be very attractive. That's why they know what to wear. They know what kind of perfume to put on. They know what kind of cologne to put on. They know what type of tie to put on. They know what kind of dress to wear. They know what kind of heels to put on. They know how much skin to show. But they are nothing more than ugly, blood-sucking, anointing, draining, leech spirits that only come to connect so that they can disconnect. Oh yes, they come to connect to you so that they can disconnect you from the favor that you have with God. But I stopped by here to tell somebody that when you have God's custom designed favor, you will have enough power, oh Lord, to escape the clutches of the enemy. That is why when Mrs. Potiphar grabbed Joseph by his coat, Joseph decided that the only way he would be free would only happen if he first broke loose. Therefore, Joseph had to break loose from his garment so that he could be free from the enemy. However, there was still a problem, because when Potiphar got home, it was Mrs. Potiphar who told him that Joseph had attempted to sexually abuse her. And as a result of this, Potiphar had Joseph thrown into prison. Help me, God. But I would have you to know that all of this had to happen. It had to happen to drive Joseph into the place where he needed to be. And even though he landed in prison, he still had his favor with God. Lord help me, I gotta hurry. And as a result of his favor with God, the same favor that God allowed him to have with his father and Potiphar, God in his infinite wisdom had set it up to where, again, where he would have that same favor now with the keeper of the prison. Now, I must tell you that before you can reach elevation, there must be a period of isolation. Because if you look at the preceding chapters, you will find that before Joseph could get to Potiphar's house, he had to be first put in the pit. But now, since his destiny was calling him higher, he had to be put into before he can move into the palace. But this is what I like, because every isolation period was a time created by God so that Joseph could evaluate how he got thus far. And I can imagine in my mind that when Joseph got to the prison, he had to look back and see that it was nobody but God who had brought him thus far. Now you may be saying, well, Cameron, that sounds like a pretty positive evaluation for somebody who was in prison. Well, my friend, it is a positive evaluation because Joseph was not at position while he was in prison, because if you check the text one more time, you will find in the 23rd verse of the 39th chapter that God made Joseph to prosper in the prison, which lets me know that it doesn't matter about what trouble place I'm in right now, because I have favor. Because if I have favor, this kind of favor that has been custom designed by the same tailor who gave Joseph favor, then I might as well accept the fact that I'm coming out of this much better than the way I was when I went in. Oh God. And when I come out, I'll be able to testify that because of what I've been through, now I'm stronger. Now I'm definitely wiser, and I really am much better because I never would have made it without the faith.